Moving on to the letter from STARS.
Hi, Chris.
Councillor Stenhouse.
I would like to make a motion that council receive the thank you letter from STARS, Senior Municipal Relations Liaison, Glenda Farden, and place the newsletter, a copy of the letter on our website or advertise it in our newspaper corner or somewhere so all citizens can read that thank you letter, not just council.
Okay. Discussion on that? Councillor Rose?
No, I think it's a good idea to let people know what we're doing. So if there's an opportunity and if there's a way, I know that it's a bit of a challenge to get things uploaded to the website, but if we felt like we could have a documents or a page for
Just a link to the thank you letter from STARS, right? That'd be great. Councillor Stenhouse?
Are we getting that? Are we getting a clip in the newspaper where we're gonna put information?
Yep. We can have a spot in there, absolutely.
Oh, I'd love to
But
see
it
that.
it's limited to how many words, right? Like the council corner or mayor's corner, whatever you want.
Well, if we could just like put in a couple lines that says STARS would like to thank the citizens for their donation.
And just in regards to that, Chris had sent a letter, an email address to Councillor Panasset, and I have yet to see a response to that.
I've talked to Chris, and we can put it in, and we've talked here, so we're fine to go. And as I mentioned before, I didn't respond. That was right after the election because I wanted to talk to council about what we wanted to do with that spot. Like there was some concerns that we didn't want to use in there or
Right.
use that.
Because
So
the email that I'm referring to was the one he sent you last week. And I sent you a response saying, are you going to respond to Chris? And I've yet to see a response.
it looks like he hasn't seen
I
the email.
don't think I saw the one last week from Chris. I'll have to look for that one. Because, yeah, no, not that one. Can't remember that one. All right, so we got a motion to receive for information and to post on our website, and maybe a word in our corner update. All right, I think it's a great idea. Yeah. All those in favor? Carried. ARPA conference and workshop. Councillor Gilroy?
I guess before I make this, will we have the rec board as part of the town at that point or not? Because I was gonna make the motion based on whether or not the rec board will be under the town, because if it's under the town, I think our CAO should be the one going to keep us up to speed. So will we have, or will they still be separate by October?
Well, make a motion and then we can have the discussion, because we can always change it, but that's our process, right?
Then I move that, or say, I make a motion that council approve our CAO and one other delegate from the rec board to attend the ARPA annual conference and Energize workshop in Jasper, October 25th to 27th, 2018.
Okay, so
By that I meant, and this is what I'm going to explain it right now. If it's under the town, then I think our CAO needs the first option, being since he is going to be the overall person in charge of our recreation. And if he wants to bring the director just underneath him, which is Lori, then that would be, I think, would be the best two people to go for the town.
So Brian, do you want to answer the first question for him?
The reason I put this in here is because Lori will be attending as the rec director, so.
It's already in the budget for recreation, just like the public works guys go to the gas conference and all their budgets already have
Yes.
those are in there.
So the rec board will still be there. That's why I made the motion to send the two representatives who sit on that board to attend that. I know the CAO in previous years has never ever attended this. It was always the rec board representative.
But the CAO was never in charge of the entire rec board, is my point. This is now an added responsibility for you, or for whoever the CAO is in general for future purposes. And so I think it's very important if they're going to be in charge of the entire thing, then it's something that would be a very valuable thing for our CAO to be involved with.
Councillor Danaka, Councillor Rose.
That was my opinion as well. Eventually the rec board will be under the town, and the CAO will be overseeing that. They have this, the next one would be in 2019, which I'm sure the rec board will be under, but I think it's beneficial for the CAO to attend, because then he will, based on what their program deals with in terms of what rec can offer and stuff, it would be a good idea for the CAO to attend, because then he'll be more aware of what the rec board should and could be doing, as opposed to sending the board members. That's just my opinion.
Councillor Rose.
So there is in the budget dollars allocated for the conference for a couple members. So whether it be the CAO and the director, whether it's a director and a manager, I think there's two people that are budgeted into recreation to go that are staff. This is different. This is like, because there's a society, because there's the board, this is like a request for councils that are board members to go, just like there's been the airport commission and that conference, that's like the gas conference, even though there's departments of the town, they still have a board, and when there's a board, there's a conference. So I think we are dealing with the staff part of it, and realistically we can, and I agree, I think that the CAOs should be going to some of these things, especially when they feel and they deem that it's a good idea, and this year with the transition happening, it's probably a good year to, for Brian to take a look at those things. But do we dictate whether staff goes to a conference or not? Or do they make their own decisions about going to conference? Like if Brian or staff wants to go to a conference, do you, because we don't see which conference you're approved to go to, you just put that in your budget, right?
That's the CAO's responsibility.
Right.
For staff.
Right, for staff. So this is the only reason why we be dealing with, do we send no council or do we send council? I don't think we can dictate to the staff who goes from staff to the conference. I think the history of this is there's always been a rec board, there's always been a rec board conference, and then they send board members. I think a couple of years ago, Councillor Emter put forward a cost reduction to we'll only send one, depending again on who wanted to go and who was able to go. So that was the only change that we've done. The county will always send their two councillors to the recreation conference. It's, in my opinion, a very good conference because it has to do with quality of life decisions for our citizens and how we move forward with, recreation plans. This year in particular, because we are making a transition, and instead of us being responsible as board members just for overseeing a CAO looking at operations, we actually are able to move forward programming and sponsorships and some of the things that we're hoping to actually be able to do with recreation, that because of the way it's been set up in the past, it's limited. Well, one, it's limited our finances, and two, it's just limited our resources. So the opportunity for educational opportunities or programming ideas that we can actually maybe act on more realistically.
Councillor Gilroy.
I'd like to amend the motion then actually to change that to the council received the invitation to attend the ARPA annual conference and Energize workshop in Jasper for information, for the simple reason that two things. One, I was just told it was an administrative decision and there's budget money for the admin for the people I thought would be benefit the most from it. And secondly, I guess I'm trying to be fair to the library and to some of these other ones where we go and we roast them. And this may be a rough way of saying it, but we roast them when we hear that the entire board goes. How is this any different than if the county will definitely send theirs and we send ours? How's that any different than what we're telling to the library when they want to send their entire people, or FCSS when they want to send their entire people? How's that any different? So I would rather just leave it in administration's hands to send the appropriate people who are going to be the feet on the ground for this, and just take and save ourselves the $4,400.
My thoughts is whether or not you go to conferences, again, we've had this argument over and over again I'm in favor of a lot of these conferences because it does open your eyes to new things, different ways of doing it. Do you always get something out of a conference? Maybe not, but most of the time you do. Some of the times it's easily to quantify, and other times it's not so easy to quantify, but you always come out with something. So, you know what, I'm still in favor of people going to the conference if we can. Councillor Corley.
Because I've been on recreation last couple of years here, I've gone to 2 of them now. 2 of them? Yes. 2 of them. And the amount of education I've got out of them has been enormous. And that's with that information and what I came back to, and that's why we're in the position we are, because that was one of the ideas, was to change the whole way we're doing recreation in our community by putting it under the CAO, putting it in the town. And that whole idea originated out of one of the conferences when I was talking with some other communities on how they're handling their stuff, which is going to put us positionally in a much safer and a better system for our recreation in our community. Can you put a price tag on that? I don't know if you can or not. I just think it's a positive workshop, conference, whatever you want to call it. You get to discuss other ideas and other problems with other communities. Again, it's a networking. It's the ideas changeover. I think it's a positive conference and workshop. And I guess realistically, why do we go to any of them then? If we're not going to go to these, nobody should go to any of them. We should just sit here in our little hole and not open our minds at all. We got to look forward, people. We got to look at how to make our community better. And how do you do that is by not just sitting here. You got to go out and you got to talk to other communities. You got to see how other communities are doing it. You got to open up and get that new information. And that's how you do it, is at these conferences. No different than AUMA. We come back and we have all these great ideas and different things going on. Information. Is it information we can put a price tag on? I don't know. But it is learning as a counselor. It's learning your positioning. It's learning. It's just learning. And there's nothing wrong with learning. I think it's a great thing for counselors to be able to go to a workshop or a conference. Initially, when I came in as a counselor, I was against it. I thought it was a waste of money. But after going to a few conferences and learning what you can get out of it and what you can bring back to your community, I think it's got value. It really does have value. I think for every person that's on the boards, on the individual boards you sit on, you should go to a conference or a workshop or something on that board you sit on, so you can learn yourself. Because everybody's in here, nobody has a clue on the, for example, the library. You didn't know the library, you didn't know the waste management, you didn't know all the boards that we sit on. You had no idea before you came into this. That's how you learn, is by going to these conferences and opening up and trying to figure out what it entails. I think we'd be going backwards by not going to these conferences. We owe it to the people, the taxpayers, to learn so we can make proper decisions on the issues in our community. That's how you do it, is by going to these conferences, by figuring it out from other communities. I think you'll be going backwards, because you never lose by educating yourself, and that's how you learn on the boards you sit on, is by taking part. So, I mean, it's a wrong message to say no, we're not going.
All right,
That's what I got.
Councillor Gilroy.
Let me be clear again. I'm not saying we don't send anybody. We will have representation from our administration. It's not like we're not going. It's not like we're sending no one from the town. It's not like we're not networking. My suggestion is that the people who would benefit most are the people that the administration will send. We don't necessarily need a councillor to go in this particular case.
Councillor Corley.
And I'm saying that he should go anyways. He should go, Lori should go, and the councillors that are on the rec board should go as well. And no different than the library board. When they have a conference, the person that's sitting on the library board should go to that conference and learn. Or if they're and maybe the CEO should go to every conference with everybody. I'm saying that you have to educate ourselves as councillors to make those decisions. And how do you do it? By just jumping in and going, well, I'm not really sure because I don't know the recreation, or I don't know. You need that background. You need that information. And this is one more tool to learn that information. And he should be there. More so this year than any year because of the transformation we're going through. I totally agree. Absolutely. But he should be there with us.
Okay. Councillor Rose.
And further to what you're saying, Councillor Gilroy, this conference and many of them, just like you've been to the AUMA, there's CAO sessions for administration. The majority of the council for the AUMA and this RCAP is for municipal leaders. So the majority of it is based on trying to encourage and educate councils, because councils are making the decision on recreational issues in their community. So they're bringing the ideas that are happening in other communities. There are sessions for administration, but there are many sessions for council. So it's not just send administration. They're going to go, and the men that are going to go, but they're going to go to a whole other part of, they're going to go to operations, right? So the idea is, again, just like AUMA, the ideas that we bring forward from AUMA are council sessions. Sometimes the administration aren't even in those sessions, and that's the way most of those conferences do work. Most of them are geared, just again like FCM. The entire conference was really geared for municipal leaders, right? That's what these conferences are. This is the teaching opportunity, because do you have to have a resume with a degree to get elected in as councillor? No, but are you responsible for $1 million budgets and great big decisions and moving the Department of Recreation into the town and like we're responsible for lots of big things that we didn't think that we were ever going to be responsible for. How do we become educated to make those decisions? We just sit here and wait for administration to tell us absolutely everything. They look to us for support as well too, so we need that education. These are pieces to educate. So instead of having a $70,000 to $100,000 a year, few other positions like some municipalities can afford, right? They can afford economic development officers, they can afford deputy CAOs, they can afford all these positions. We can't. We have a CAO and admin staff that are run ragged, and public works that you're run pretty ragged as well. But in the end, we can, even if it's injections of $10,000 per council, we can go and educate ourselves and come back for less than an annual wage and bring back the information, make proper decisions, hopefully avoid legal disputes in the future with that information that we get it. So it is, I hear what you're saying, and I know you're trying to be able to and try to save dollars. but there certainly is value. I know that we all feel like we're much more educated now than we were when we first sat here. And probably even part of that is that AUMA conference that we get to go to right off the bat. I mean, I remember walking around there thinking, what have I got myself into? I didn't know which direction to go. And I did, and I agree with Councillor Courtly. I did think, is this just sort of, because you hear stories about people that just went to conference for fun. But you actually go to conference for conference, you're there from 7 in the morning until 8 in the evening, going from session to event, talking to people. Like it's a condensed education. That instead of going off and taking a course for a month or a year or a few years, I feel way more educated now than I certainly was when I walked into council. And it's those opportunities to go and educate. So I think that we should allow people to go and educate, but it shouldn't be always up for scrutiny. Like I think that we are on those boards. Part of the terms of those boards is that we go and we represent them when asked. I mean, I know we can't always afford to do that, but we're always saying no, and we're scrutinizing each other instead of allowing ourselves the opportunity to make choices, to educate ourselves, to help the citizens of the area.
Okay. Councillor Tanaka?
So based on all of this discussion, are you going to this conference, Brian?
I could.
Okay, you're going to go. Okay, that's a good start. So your motion, Councillor Gilroy, is to receive for information.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Now, I like the fact that the CAO is going, especially at this point in time where we are. For him to go and have one other board member along with him, I think is fine. I have no problem with that. My main concern was at this point that the CAO definitely has to go. If we're sending one person, the CAO has to be that person this year. Now, as to sending both of the reps on the rec board, I'm not sure if that's a good thing, or to send one and the CAO. That's where I'm at right now.
I'll give you a little hint. I've gone 2 years in a row, and I haven't put any honorarium in. It hasn't cost you a cent for me to go, other than my rooms that she's booked. So I've saved you guys a couple grand the last 2 years, not putting my cost in. So there's that. We got a little bit of savings. So if you want to send both, we can send both go.
Well, right now we have a motion for information, so.
I'm just saying, that's,
I understand.
I'm giving you the truth. I haven't put in for it.
All right.
So, that's what it is.
Councillor Stenhouse, we haven't heard from you. Do you want to say anything, or heard from everyone else?
Okay. So everyone's got a really good argument here. But I'm money conscious also. And I've gone to a couple workshops, and they had nothing to do with recreation, but I was talking recreation. Even though it was not geared to recreation, these workshops, because recreation is on my mind all the time also, I don't feel that we need one specific conference to discuss recreation. It can be discussed at many workshops and other conferences. My take on it, I'm going to be totally honest with you guys, I think it's just too expensive. The CAA goes to represent us. That's my take on it.
Anything different, or
Yes.
Okay.
If this gets defeated and it gets re-put in again, I would like to see it without names, because don't we have the changeover in October?
Yes, we would.
So
have,
then it would be councillors as opposed to individual names.
Okay,
So if it gets defeated, I'd rather have just councillors, whoever gets put down to that board, if that's what you're going to do, as opposed to saying, okay, now it's going to be Councillor Rose and Councillor Corday. Because it's nothing against you two, but it is changeover. It is changeover. And so I don't want us to buttonhole people into specifics when we will be having our annual changeover.
okay, so we have a motion on the floor to receive this for information. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, it's defeated. Is there a new motion? Councillor Danaka?
I make a motion that council approves sending the CAO, Brian Martinson, and one other board member to attend the ARPA annual conference and Energize workshop in Jasper from October 25th to October 27th, 2018.
Okay. Any discussions on that? We've gone around this lots, but it's a new motion. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, on to our verbal and written reports. Councillor Danaka?
You have my report in front of you. Just one thing I would like to add regarding the museum. I'm not exactly sure where we're at with Darlene. I haven't talked to her to find out how her progression is going with her injury. And my only concern is if this summer is going to be like what we've had so far, we really need to get those walls sealed. Otherwise, we're going to have the same problem that they're going to start disintegrating. And I don't know what the timeline is on that or what, but we really need to make that a priority. Because we went through the whole process of changing the walls and rebuilding it, and if we're not going to do anything as soon as we can, we're going to end up in the same position.
Okay.
I just let council know that I talked with Mike Denty actually this morning, and he was going to phone the contractor to get the name of the sealant to seal that. So, and I think he was going to get the summer students to do it. So, weather's not permitting right now, but we wanted to get it sealed, painted, and then the mural up so that it'd be up there for the barbecue.
I had a question, Don, about you had mentioned in the library one that you had a photo booth there. Who has a photo booth in town? I'm just curious.
I'm not sure where it came from. I don't know if they got one. It was just like one of those photo booths that you go into a mall.
Oh, okay.
And you know, takes your picture with like a frame that says retired or whatever. I don't know where they got it from.
All right, any other questions for Councillor Danaka?
No other questions. I move where I report for information.
All those in favor? Carried. Councillor Gilroy?
I can't wait till we have better internet here. I had my report for the Community Health and Wellness clinic, but I can't access it. Yeah, on my computer it doesn't do it. And so anyway, and my phone only gets so many. So anyway, the Community Health and Wellness, they are taking the summer off. They were going to have a 1-year celebration of the opening, but that has been put off due to communication problems, as in AHS Communication has not authorized anything. Any of the special things such as the clinics or the information sessions for obstetrics, that's been moved later on. We do finally have a new director. They changed the title from director. We had a man named Remy who had come from Peace River who took over from Rhonda. When they moved over to the new hospital, he was in charge of everything. They put up they put out a call for someone who had some RN experience as well as managerial, and they have hired someone who starts on the 25th, and I think her name's Lori Tompkins. She had just moved from one of the First Nation reservations to acute care, and then she left acute care just recently to take on this position. I'll have to email you with the exact name once I get access again. But as I said, she started there. Dr. Glenn Gill has been delayed due to a family concern. He has an ill family member, and so he has been delayed in coming. And when I get more information on the exact time that he will be coming, in the meantime, the shortages that will occur due to some of the doctors being retrained and or not being, we'll just say not being available. It seems that a lot of those areas they've had, Dr. Logie has volunteered to take the spot in order that we maintain a level of good quality care. Especially, he has taken on at least one young man who is here for 2 months. And I think they're actually bringing these guys more and more, the med students, and they're using more for the walk-in clinic. So they're getting, they're being able to move people faster so that if you go to the walk-in clinic, you're not going to be there like for hours and hours and hours. So it's like bam, 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 trying to get people in and move them so that you don't lose a whole day if you need to come to the walk-in clinic. So they're working on these things. There's a number. We're still looking for a person, a member at large, a person who has a doctor or visits that clinic on a regular basis, because we know some of the doctors have left, that would like to contact. You can contact me, and I'll give you the information to contact the AHS committee, because they need someone who is a patient to fill in for that particular role, to fulfill that. So there's a number of things happening, but a lot of the deadlines, they are progressing. There's not really any sort of delay in some of these things, and they still continue to look for other people who'll be able to come in and do the services better. I know the management has been, different managers within the hospital have been trying to get together as well to prepare better for obstetrics, but I have not heard the result of that particular meeting. So there's a number of things there. As well, I represented the town at the capping and pinning for Northern Lakes College in Slave Lake. It was a very good night. There was a lot there, and I got to meet one of our new nurses, new LPNs who went with home care, and another potential one who wants to come work here. So out of the 60-odd, or 50 to 60-odd people there, I happened to meet the right two in there. And there is a funny story that I can't tell here, but there was some humor that night. And I was also representing the town the next day, going back to Slave Lake to see the largest graduation class that Northern Lakes College has done so far, 987, 13 short of 1,000. And that was in quite a few different categories, especially a lot of online ones. People came because of the paramedic programs, and other ones, they came from as far away as Red Deer to as far away as High Level, Wabasca. Very good turnout there. And of course, I was at the barbecue and enjoyed that, especially our Hortley Pounder, where Arlen made up his own hamburger, which was really good. And I went to the joke was, why do we need a McDonald's when we have the Hortley Pounder, which was a double patty burger. And we also enjoyed representing the town at the Watershed AGM, and they have partially a new executive. Tammy is no longer in charge. They have a gentleman from Slave Lake who's in charge, and he is very good in the technical field. But Tammy is vice chair, and our town came out, if I can say this, smelling like a rose, because as I said, they made sure that people saw that the town was investing in the water refill stations, and the Slave Lake people are saying, how come we're not listed that way? And we said, because you didn't give any money. So the town came across as quite good, and it was very well received. I think those are all that I can remember at the moment. It's just been a blur of other meetings in town and representing unofficially at different events as well. And I say unofficially because I happened to forget my name tag on, so I was there representing the town, but I was there unofficially, so I did not say I was there on behalf of the town. I just was there.
Right, any questions?
Okay, then if there are no questions, I move my report for information.
All those in favor? Carried. No Councillor Long, so on to my report. I dropped it off with you today. I don't know if there's any questions on those. A lot of those we've already talked about. I do want to add a couple of other little things that's sort of more recent developments, is that there's, we've got, Big Lakes County is doing a survey of businesses. I sent out an email on that, so you might see that coming around, and those business owners, you might get a phone call about that, and you can let them know. And there's Big Lakes County, and they had emailed me, and they're looking at also forming a group to look at or talk with the government about looking at economic developments and maybe another RETA in the area. So they're working on that development also. And that's another development going in there, and they're talking with Mark Vandenberg from the government, who helps to fund the RETAs in the province. So with that, I'll take any questions. Yep.
Actually, I wanted to thank you for making time for the broadband meeting that NADC had. I know you weren't able to be there for all of it, but I enjoyed that. That's one thing I did forget. The RETA, when discussing that, was there any discussion to the point that what I've heard is the RETA is separate from the organization LSLEA. LSLEA is an association that will always be there, but they may not have the authority of the RETA. Have you heard anything to that extent?
The group discussing the RETA has not met. So it's just a motion that they wanted to get a meeting together to start some discussions. Councillor Danak?
I just have a question regarding your town spot.
Yep.
Discussion on why we have Pizza Hut, which led to a discussion. I don't understand.
It was a question that actually came from them. That they were saying, well, we got another Pizza Hut, and we've heard people asking, why do we have another Pizza Hut? Or
Another pizza
what?
place.
Store, pizza restaurant.
Yeah, another store,
Or
another
pizza
pizza restaurant, okay,
Okay.
hotel.
Somebody wanted to invest in our community.
Yeah, and basically it led to that, we don't have any control. If they meet our land use bylaws, they're in. We don't care, what it is, and so if there's another one coming in tomorrow, they'll be there too. So that
Okay,
was
I just didn't really understand what that was
why
about.
it all came around.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I move my report for information. All those in favor? Carried. Councillor Courtley?
Just basically cooked burgers at the seniors barbecue, which was actually a lot of fun. We had a good time and good turnout, good weather. I think they all left full. So it was actually the food. I gotta give it to the crew. Actually, the recreation staff did a bang up job on the preparation, the salads, and just the whole the whole organizing of it was well done. We just showed up there and did our little part, but the real chore was getting it all organized and doing the prep on it, which was unbelievable. I was very, very impressed. I give them full kudos. So, that's all I've got.
Okay.
Actually, I have a request from a town resident for either you or Councillor Rose to take back to the rec board. It has to do with the swimming pool. This person bought a membership at the beginning of the year. They are in an Aquafit program, and they are being told that suddenly the rates for their for Aquafit will be going up. Though when they bought the membership, they were told that it included all the fees for Aquafit as well. The other thing that they wanted you to ask, and as I said, I'm bringing this on behalf of a person who phoned me about it, they would like to know if you could find out the rationale for stopping the Aquafit for the summer in order to, and filling that spot with the Dolphins. I'm just relaying what I was asked to do, so I know nothing about the swimming pool. That's why I was asked if you could find out why this person who had bought a membership and has had membership for a number of years suddenly is being told that because they're becoming more of a business model, these fees will be raised in mid-year.
We can leave that for now and go back. It's unrelated to his report, right?
Yeah.
It's not related to the report. Definitely a good question. Bring it up to him and ask. But we need to move on to other things, so we can work on that. Any other questions for Councillor Courtley? None? All those in favor? Carried. Moving on to Councillor Rose.
You have my written report. Other than that, I dropped off a FCM report with you that you never got a chance to really look at. I just wanted to touch base on one item on the FCM report, just to have you guys think about it coming forward. Councillor Long and I discussed a session that we were at that was basically on the African Nova Scotia community. It sort of lent itself back into talking about issues of residential schools. One of the things that we brought back before from a conference was the CRTC recommendations, their call to actions. And one of the call to action is basically, I'll read it. We call upon the federal, provincial, territorial, and municipal governments to provide education to public servants on the history of Aboriginal peoples, including the history, legacy of residential schools, the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People, treaties, and Aboriginal rights, Indigenous laws, and Aboriginal Crown relations. This will require skill-based training and intercultural competency, conflict resolution, and human rights and anti-racism. There is reconciliation and culturally sensitive training that's available to municipal leaders and public servants. I've added a page in here that's from the City of Winnipeg, their Indigenous Relations policy, or just some information on it. They've adopted, as well as many other communities have adopted, the mandatory training for political or for municipal leaders as well as for municipal staff. It's something that we'd like to bring forward for council's consideration, so I thought I'd just give you the heads up. This report is Michael and mine together, so I never got an opportunity to sort of go over all of it with him. I'll bring it back to our next council meeting, so you guys will have another opportunity to look at it in your report.
I had a question on the
Original report?
on your original report on the CECs, and you had made mention in here that there are some, you have approved funds for, I forget the exact wording, but basically that they could take courses for graduates, but it was just upgrading students. I'm just wondering why it was just upgrading students. Or was that I meant upgrading graduates, right? The committee made decisions to fund some graduation activities for the 14 upgrading graduates, so for one program. Wondering why you didn't support other programs.
You know, I can't really talk to that, and maybe I'm incorrect, because we just made a motion to approve the funds. It was presented by upgrading, so maybe that was a misunderstanding that it was just for those students. I don't think it probably was. I think it was probably for any students that wanted to. It was presented by students from the student council, but part of upgrading. So I think maybe that's a mistake.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none. Oh, yep.
I just have one, and this may have happened after your meeting with what you have on the rec board, but we received the minutes from the rec board meeting April.
It was before our last meeting, yeah.
24th, I believe. I think it was April 25th. When you guys met with the accountant.
Okay.
Can you say anything regarding what was said regarding the rec board's budget or the rec board's finances? Or is that not something that you can say publicly?
What are you meaning?
Well, I'm just wondering what came about from the audit. Like, did the rec board pass or similar to what they do with us?
Yep. No, it did. It did pass, and there was some. Let's see. How can I massage this? There was some. They did find some
Practice issues
with the bookkeeping, but they were working with her on that.
Okay.
But as far as the budget
they feel
balancing and
they
all
feel
that,
they feel it will be rectified.
All right. Okay. All right.
There was some reconciliation issues, and it had to do with
The
I
transfer from the pool
the
pool
new
to the
system that they use.
the system.
And
What's
the way
the
that,
name of the system that they use? I forget it.
You guys were MuniWare. No, I can't remember what. But it actually had to do, and I mean, without pointing like fingers, there was a problem with the way things were run previously. There is a change, and we have a new manager in place. They're changing, and they're trying to be more exact with the way, but they had to make changes with the entries. The staff, unfortunately, at the pool, because you've got part-time staff and you've got some young staff, sometimes there's a miss or there's a mistake in what gets entered, and they had to back up and fix things and re-enter, which caused some challenges for, I believe, Shanda, who had to sort of pick up that end of it. So there were some entry issues, but it didn't make a difference in the top line and the bottom line kind of thing. It was just a little bit of a mess that the accountant, processes that the accountant has to look after now.
Perfect.
And they do feel after the transition it will be rectified.
Everybody's really happy about the transition, actually. So that's awesome.
Councillor Gilroy.
Two things. One, I was just scanning your report from FCM. Will we be getting a list of the ministers, federal ministers or federal departments that you actually had meetings with? Because I thought that was one of the reasons why the county and the town were going down there to meet with federal representatives as well. I was under that impression. I'm just saying, I didn't see it on here, but will we be getting a list of the people you've met with in that sense, so that we can justify it to some people who are to say, you know what, we met with all these people here and it was good. Now, that's up to you how you want to handle that. The second has to do with the rec board, and since it was brought up by Councillor Danaka, this may be more for the CAO as well. We made a motion a number of weeks ago about buying the assets from the rec board, and I've never heard what the county did on that. Did they pass a similar motion? Because it's supposed to be as of the 30th of the month, I believe. And so I'd like to know where that process is.
I believe that's coming up at their council meeting tomorrow. So. All right, and back to meeting of ministers, federal ministers. The FCM isn't the same as the AUMA conference. You don't book meetings with ministers. Basically, if you meet them at a meet and greet or whatever and pass your name on and that, share ideas with them, I think that's the whole idea of that, so.
But like the Minister of Infrastructure was there, and he did give a session. There's the opportunity to have the conversation, and there certainly were opportunities to have conversation with staff of ministries. So I will update you as to what opportunities sort of presented themselves there. But Brian's right. It's a different sort of format as AUMA, where we meet with our we book them, we meet with them, and I have to say, after going to the last AUMA, I have to question about whether a person should pay for the AUMA conference when you never really got to go to the conference. I mean, we were there, and it was awesome to be there networking and getting the opportunity to sort of buzz around. But if the entire conference is spent in a minister's office, I don't know why we paid them conference fees, you know, so.
Separately.
I know, we should really do them separately. So anyway, there is a balance, and I'll fill you in on that. I wanted you to kind of have, I wasn't sure whether Michael was going to be able to make the meeting. I wanted to be able to talk to him a little bit more about that, but I wanted you to have a little bit of an opportunity to look at that one piece on that reconciliation training that will maybe give council more information on in the future.
No, thank you. I just wanted to be able to have a response to the number of people within the town who asked me about what happened.
Careful about responses too. Like, everybody obviously has a big opinion on everybody's individual education and opportunity for growth, and we all look at it different, right? I've run my own businesses for the last 20 years, and you know the time that I really spend money on my business is when it's not doing great. When my business is doing fine and we're running, you know, we're making lots of money and we're running full out, I don't even buy advertising. But when we're struggling, when we're not making money, when we're not attracting business, I'm educating myself, I'm advertising, and I'm building my business. And I think that we have to really consider what we're doing here as a community, because we're trying to build High Prairie, we're trying to grow High Prairie, we're trying to retain people. And by watching the nickels, we're never going to make the dollars. We have to be willing to say a conference has value without nickel and diming absolutely everything that we do. I find a lot of value in it. I know that I'm more educated. I know that I can speak better. I know that I represent High Prairie well when I go out of the community. I know I bring back information to all of the committees that I go back to. I don't like being scrutinized. And I have to say that as much as you're talking to other people in the community about what I do, other people in the community are saying, I'm not that interested in putting my name forward because I see what's going on and I don't know if I want to represent people of this community if that's what I'm going to be under attack and under scrutiny. So between the paper and sometimes what this council does and how this council makes people feel, we got to be careful about whether we really truly are trying to grow this community.
Okay, we're getting off topic. Let's get back related to her report. Okay, perfect.
I'm really glad that there's this very extensive.
Bring your mic on.
I'm really glad that there's this very extensive report, and some of the stuff that's in here has tweaked my interest, especially this ice rink. Especially this ice rink, because I'm thinking that would be like if we could do that. You know, we could have so much fun skating on that in the summertime. It's like, you know, I think that's very cool. I think that's very cool.
And those are the cool things about going to. You
Yes.
don't even know sometimes the value, right? You
Right.
don't know. So you bring back an idea. Maybe it's a money saver. Maybe it's a community saver. You know, it's the opportunity to build and enhance something. But yeah, that was actually a good idea. I actually got he's sending in a quote, and I forward this on to Recreation. So we'll take a look at it, and maybe there's a way, potentially, and just so everybody's sort of aware, another little update with Recreation is we're talking about bringing in a recreation master plan. So that's what the society wants to do. And I think I did share this before. We're waiting to approve a plan for J.C. Park revitalization. And I actually had a meeting, sort of small meeting with Jennifer Anderson about the community garden. Right? Because the community garden people are like a little bit frustrated. They're struggling. And I think there's a lot of groups like that. There's groups of a couple people that would like to do something, and they kind of feel like they're floundering on their own. So what we're really hoping to do is have a place for them to go. So to have a recreation plan where we say, yeah, the skate park, well, yeah, skate park's already here. So the splash park, the community garden, the dog park, the amphitheater, those are all pieces of a future plan for the community. We sort of have a plan and we know where we want to put them. And if you're interested in that fundraising part of it, come and see us and let's present your plan to the board and be able to sort of support them moving forward. But yeah, so they're all excited about being able to move forward, and they're going to start talking, because they were hoping for the Esso lot. I think that they were dealing a little bit in the past with Mayor Cox on the Esso lot. So they're hoping to be able to move forward anywhere with the community garden.
All right, are you going to move your report?
I'll move my report for information.
All those in favor? Carried. Councillor Stenhouse.
I have nothing to report.
You big chicken. That is.
There's more, but this was sort of the highlight.
All right.
This library?
Well, you were late.
Okay.
Huge opportunity.
So we'll take a short break before we move in camera.
Is there in camera? Why do I